Personal injury claims from no-fault car insurance may be costing New York State over $250 million. There are 4 states where this problem is manifest. In the state of Florida, insurers are even thinking about pulling out of the state because of the number of claims. In the state of Michigan, the personal injury protection claims are now so high and so magnified since the no-fault insurance was adapted that they're actually talking about overturning it. Right here in New York, the no-fault insurance and claims from a Fox News report in June of 2011 are considered to be, again, so many and occur so frequently that the system will be out of control unless there is some repair in this next legislative session of 2012. Now, no-fault insurance had a very humane and, in many respects, beneficial purpose. It was to make sure that people who suffered injuries from car accidents were able to get medical treatment within 30 days. Secondly, it was really, the no-fault insurance was something that was designed not only for the victim, but it also was designed to allow to stop ambulance chasers, lawyers, from clogging up the court systems with rather small claims. But it is developed into something far beyond that. Now, I was in government when we brought no-fault insurance, and this is far beyond the contemplation of the lawmakers who thought that we were doing the right thing. David Schwartz is a partner in Gotham Government Relations, know him very well, and he has some suggestions for what might clear up our no-fault insurance problem. David, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Governor. I love the show. You're doing a great job. It's great to be here.
Well, thank you. And tell us about no-fault car insurance.
Yes, you really laid out the case very well. No-fault insurance was very well intentioned, but the problem is we didn't anticipate all the criminal enterprises that would enter the process. We didn't anticipate medical mills, along with these criminal enterprises with, unfortunately, some attorneys who have gotten together and really have done a number on the system. You talked before about how we would keep these cases out of the court system. Well, we've got about 280,000 cases pending in the New York City court system right now of these no-fault cases. And by the insurance department's own numbers, those cases are going to be going up to about 700,000 cases over the next few years. This is an epidemic. These are fraudulent car accidents. That they've come up with every scheme you could ever imagine to create a phony situation in order to collect the no-fault insurance. And the estimates are about 25% of all cases filed have some sort of fraud involved. So when you're talking about 400,000 cases filed every single year in New York City, we're talking about close to 100,000 cases that have some sort of fraud involved. This is an epidemic. It needs to stop, and the legislature must do something. We have some good legislation that's pending right now, and they really need to take a stand, or else, like you stated before, the insurance companies are looking to leave the state of Florida. We could be following here in New York, and that's why we represent NYSAFE, New Yorkers Stand Against Insurance Fraud, to finally do something about this, take the issue, and we're just so glad that you're covering the issue, Governor.
We're talking with David Schwartz. He's a partner at Gotham Government Relations, very effective lobbying group in Albany, and they are on the issue of fraud. As a man named Robert Poindexter, who is from the Insurance Crime Investigations Bureau of Florida, put it, where there's money, there's theft. Where there's a lot of money, there's organized crime. There are clinics that are open in Florida that don't even treat patients. All they do is bill. The same thing is rampant in the state of Michigan. There are ways to beat the system, and they have totally figured out how to beat no-fault car insurance. And institutions have trouble adjusting to these types of situations. But it sounds to me like we'd better make an adjustment in New York. Tell us what the legislation that NYSAFE is applauding would do to help the consumer.
Well, first of all, the same problems exist here in New York. We also have medical mills which don't provide medical treatment. We also have situations where fake brain scans are being used, and they're treating the leg when there was an injury to the arm. So we have an omnibus bill pending in Albany. Well, there's multiple bills. I guess the lowest hanging fruit is the bill that's pending in the Assembly right now. It passed the Senate. And it's David Weprin is the sponsor of this bill. And basically, what it says is, if you commit a staged accident, if you're involved in a staged accident with the intent to commit insurance fraud, you're guilty of a felony. It's to change the penal code. It seems very basic, but at every step of the way, the trial lawyers have stood in the way of progress. So that's one bill, making it a felony. Where you stage a car accident to commit insurance fraud. That's number one. Then we have some reforms in place where we think we could take the 280,000 cases that are pending in the New York City court system, clogging up the system for real litigants where they can't even have their cases heard. And in the omnibus bill, we want to take those cases where 90% of them are for less than $5,000 and put them into arbitration, to mandatory arbitration. We believe
that's actually what the legislation was designed to oppose. Well, David Schwartz, who is a partner at Gotham Government Relations, very effective lobbying firm in New York, has been with us. We're running out of time right now, David.
Okay.
We will have you back shortly because this is a developing story. We want to talk about this through this next legislative session, and thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks, Governor. You're the best. We appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay, coming up on 454 from WOR, we'll be back right after this. I had a thought during the break, and so David Schwartz, partner at Gotham Government Relations, is willing to come back. He's on the line. David, so suppose we clear those cases out and get those cases under $5,000 into arbitration, but what are we going to do if we get rid of our no-fault laws to stop some of the problems we had previously from coming back again?
Well, that's definitely part of a larger question, Governor, whether or not we should get rid of the no-fault laws. We think we should keep the no-fault laws, but get rid of all the windows of opportunity that allow the criminal enterprises to game the system, to take advantage of New Yorkers to the tune of $250 million a year. We're losing, they're paying a fraud tax. So we think the simple conclusions that we have in the legislation can help do that. The mandatory arbitration that we spoke about, the decertifying medical mills, where the insurance department has the right to decertify a medical mill where it's shown that they are committing fraud on patients. Treatment guidelines we're looking for. We have no universal way to say what kind of treatment guidelines we should have. Also, the insurance company having the right to rescind an insurance policy if it's not paid for within 60 days, because that's where they really game the system, the criminals. We have some real common sense solutions here, Governor, and I really hope we could create a movement to make this happen during this legislative session.
Thank you, David Schwartz of the Gotham Group. Now time for the news at 5 with Dave Spencer, WOR News Talk Radio 710.